There we go. Kevin's back. All right. I got it. I got you, Kevin. Yeah, I got to find out how I'm actually related to him, but that was my grandmother's thing when I was a kid. Let me see. These guys might have lost the link. Let me send them the link. Oh, there's John's here.
There were 8 different links in the
I know.
group chat.
I was like, I better put another link in here. Well, because I had the one with the wrong time and the wrong date, and I'm gonna put this link back for Ken. Why is it? It's not. Oh, there we go. Oh, there's Ken. Look, we all made it over to. I almost said after dark. Like that sounds like a pornographic version or something.
It's overtime.
So here's why that's funny. There's no way you could have already heard our episode from the forces behind Star Wars, but it was Anthony, Dexter, Steven, and myself, and they were talking about that the 5 of us, if you include Demetrius, were like the OGs, the original fans of Star Wars, and they were talking about it and saying that phrase again, the original fans. And I said, I'm so glad that you guys enunciated and said the original fans, because at first glance I thought I heard only fans, and I know that is not the kind of thing you want to Google. You don't want to go only fans Star Wars, because you're not going to find us there. So please do not Google only fans Star Wars and look for us, because not a good thing. So I think it's so funny that you were talking about Star Wars After Dark. Hey, Arc 77's here.
Wow,
good to see you, man.
Only
Oh,
2
good.
hours.
See, he got the late night one. Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know if this 2 shot, but then we have it broken down into a much more manageable chunk.
What gets done with the chats? Do you save those anywhere?
I don't know if they get saved or not on the. I don't know if they go in as comments on the YouTube page. I'll have to check.
Okay.
They do.
They do.
Okay.
They go in as comments. Okay, good.
Well, technically they're all there, but if you're watching it as a live stream,
oh yeah, then they'll show up on the screen.
Yeah, it'll show up as they were commented at the time.
Oh, okay.
So it'll come up on screen in our chat feature, and then also in the comments. It'll all of the chats won't pop up at once. It'll be like if someone commented at 5 minutes and 55 seconds, then the chat will pop up.
Gotcha. Okay.
We're all learning this all new.
I'm glad your flights weren't delayed, Ark. That's good to hear, because I forgot you were going on vacation, going down south. Hopefully, you did a little bit of toy hunting while you were down there.
That's right. He was going toy hunting.
Was I asleep for that?
Yeah, I think you were.
Okay.
It was close. It was late. I mean, it was probably getting close to that midnight hour.
Yeah.
Still embarrassed about that.
Well, see, before we had kids, me and Missy, when school was out, we literally turned into we didn't set the alarm. We didn't know what time it was in the summer. We didn't know what day of the week it was. You know what I mean? At least for July.
So you were just day walkers.
Yeah. We're just like, what time is it? The dogs need let out. We had 4 dogs at the time, so you couldn't just sleep in.
Hey, Kevin made it over. That's awesome. Good to see you.
Yeah,
welcome back, Kevin. Now he's got to look for e-girl and hit.
Yeah, well, it should be on the YouTube page and the Facebook page, but who knows? I just had this idea. We'll see what happens with it. I still think we have to make the podcast commercials, which I'm going to harass Zoe to make it, but she works she goes in from 8 in the morning until 7 at night every day, 6 days a week. So it's hard to her.
Considering what we're talking about and who we're talking with right now, what if we spent a little bit of time? I'm not talking hours or even half hours, maybe 10, 15 minutes just recording some bits, some clips that we can then, I mean, we can record the audio and then it can be fiddled with and modified and put into something useful later. But considering that we're all going to be together in the same place, let's do something basic.
Yeah, because we can do it with the Zoom recorder Saturday. We can at least get we can pull audio because the Zoom picks up so nice.
Okay.
And I like to use it. I just I have all these toys and I don't get to use them. So
it's gonna be so nice being with everyone in a very calming, non-chaotic setting.
Oh, you mean like standing in armor for 14 hours straight?
Yeah.
Whatever that was. I should have invited Matt, but he's hard to he's always busy too. He's probably filming whatever he films.
I'm shocked you were able to get Marty. I figured he would be swamped.
Well, see, I thought he'd have a wedding, but he didn't have a wedding. So
that's what I thought.
Marty, there's many weeks Marty's at my house more than I'm at my house, I feel like. So just this week he was doing he had to dance recital or dance school or something, and he does all kinds of stuff like that. So
I didn't realize he was a dancer.
Yeah, no. His photography, he's usually busy. June's busy, and then usually July is when we get a lot done.
Gotcha.
Yeah, fan films, I'm telling you, I never really thought much about them, and after making that one for Matt, I wish, and I think I said this when I was a little more involved in the running of the 501st in our Legion, but I always felt like that was something the Legion should have a person that just reaches out to fan film people, because there are people out there that want to make, again, it goes back to our silos of fandom. We forget, and if you don't know where to get stormtroopers, making a movie with stormtroopers might seem kind of daunting to the average fan,
And even if we don't go the full route of a full-on fan film, even some of those little clips that we had talked about, those little vignettes.
Oh yeah,
we've toyed around with. Those would be fun to do too, because the action is the same, the process, the development's the same. It's just less of an undertaking. We don't have to worry about a 60-minute story treatment. It can be 3.5 minutes of 7 people in character or in costume on screen, and we could go on to the next one.
Oh yeah. Well, that's part of the fun. I mean, I'm just trying to see if I had any other. Here's Zoe. What you want, Zoe?
I just check see if you were done or not.
No. What do you want? You gonna come say hi to the guys?
Sure.
Zoe.
Can you hear me?
They should hear you. This mic picks up the water running down the pipes.
Hey, so good to see you.
I can't hear them though.
No, you can't hear. There you go.
Well, no, you can't hear them.
That's all right. Here.
Hi.
Hey, Zoe. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Are you prepared to hang out with us this weekend?
Yes.
Yeah, she'll be.
I'm working a lot.
Uh-oh.
My paycheck for last pay period will be for 136.75 hours.
Oh man!
Whoa.
Treat
for 2 weeks.
Zoe's buying. No.
Fantastic.
So,
Kevin says hi, Zoe.
I saw your thing about the costume.
Yeah.
Is that what you want to talk about?
No. I was wondering if you want to put my sheets on my bed.
Oh, jeez. Okay. Well, I will.
I got it.
All right. Yeah. Just sleep on your couch until I'm done, then I'll come do it. Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. She has a loft bed, so it's extremely painful to put sheets on it. Plus, she has display cases of different Star Wars items, and
In your house?
Yeah, I know.
Wait a minute. I want to make this doesn't sound like it makes sense that there's display cases of Star Wars stuff in your house. Come on.
Yeah. It's just one room. Just one room.
How did that happen?
No, but Chris Freed bought her a I forget who's the guy who makes props and armors in England. I forget his name, but he's well known. I don't know, but he made Ezra's blaster pistol, the lightsaber blaster pistol.
Uh-huh.
And he made a handful of them. And Chris Freed, a friend of ours, give one of them to Zoe for graduation. And that's
a nice gift. That's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So, and I think of that because that's in that display case. And every time I put her sheets on, I'm like, please just don't knock that down. So as a rule, parent, don't get loft beds for your kids. It's a pain.
Is it an appropriate thing to do to go into a family who have cosplayed as Tuskens and to take something and then resell it to them later on, like they did in the Kenobi show?
Oh, you mean Jawas could do that? Yeah, if you're a Jawa.
Oh yeah, the Jawa. I got my robed
so.
creatures mistaken. I apologize. I'm a fake fan.
So. You been a real fan, Ken?
They've done some. They've done some things with Jawas that when the girls were Jawas, man, they would have loved it. Like the Jawa, other than the Mandalorian murdering all those Jawas, they would have got such a kick out of when they were driving the thing and he was banging his head and stuff like that.
Should we make a Suka this weekend?
Suka.
Yeah, there you go.
Get some fun fur. I have a big plastic egg.
Bring it. I have some fur.
Okay.
Oh my god, this is happening.
That's awesome.
Oh boy.
It'll be the first time I ever made a hairy egg.
Well, yeah. Here, I have a fan film for you though. This was made by Zoe in high school. Let me see.
Star Wars After Dark.
Yes. I don't even remember what it was about, and I don't know the sound. Wow. Sorry. Sorry. FX bucket.
Hey kid, I don't know what you think you're doing, but that helmet is property of the Empire. Hey, stop right there! Hey, you got nowhere to run now, huh? What the?
I wasn't the smartest stormtrooper.
Is that legit Arabesh?
Probably, knowing Zoe, yes.
Oh my goodness, that's so funny.
I
think it's funny that your children credited you with your full name.
Yeah, I know.
And not just Mike or Dad, but it's Michael.
So there's your favorite. There's your favorite.
See, and that's the stuff I was just talking about to Loud Hits. We should those short little ones, those short videos, those little don't have to be a full length story or full length. Can be just as cool and just as fun as that.
Yeah, that was that was a long time ago because that was my armor was still nice and white.
Yeah. Hey, even though Mike hates him, I still like the Jedi and the Sith fighting in the woods.
Oh,
those
yeah.
are still some of my favorite fan films.
I like those, but it was like there for a while I think it was the Force.net that hosted all the fan films.
Oh yeah, I think so.
There for a while, that was every film. Like it was just every, and it was almost like the same storyline.
There wasn't much of a storyline, to be fair.
I still like Sal fighting Darth Maul. So he has some.
I don't think I've ever seen that one. That I may have, but I don't recall it.
Let's see. That was called Boss versus Darth Maul. It was people used it as a it was an April Fool's joke.
Oh, okay.
They used it as a Netflix. I got it one year at school, everyone sent it to me. I was like, I know that guy. It's not really coming to Netflix.
Hang around.
Hang on, let me see if I can show this. It's not, but his Voss is. I know I'm a little biased.
His Voss is boss.
His Voss is boss. Let me see. Video will play after ad. Okay, so someone's making money from us.
Everybody's
Turn the volume down.
But no matter what you're into, no questions asked.
Hey, slow down.
I to judge.
All right. There we go.
Nothing will stand in our way. I will finish what you started.
Hate has made you powerful.
If you only knew the power of the dark side.
That is cool. I've never seen that.
Nothing will stand in our way.
Yeah, that was
I will finish what you started.
that was an April Fool's joke one year. He did a couple good Voss fan films. He did I forget the other one where he's fighting. He's fighting some bounty hunters. I forget what the other one's called.
I think we got to figure out a way of getting more pod racing.
Oh yeah, I'll take pod racing. Well, see, how about like I've talked before where I would love to see a Star Wars channel, like Discovery Channel, where you're doing that. How about a Star Wars channel that is the Star Wars Wide World of Sports? Because you have pod racing,
Yep.
you have the Gamorrean Guard fighting, right?
Yeah. Well, there was the pit fighting that Black Chrysanthemum was involved in.
Yep, pit fighting.
There was, if you looked at the Outlander Club when Obi-Wan and Anakin ran into it after Zam Wessel, there was a couple different sports events up on the screens in there.
Yeah. So there you
And
go.
if we follow along the path of what they do on ESPN, they have competitive poker playing.
Right.
So we could have Sabak. We could have them playing Sabak on camera. Except instead of just credits and so on, you're betting ships. I mean,
yeah.
how do you think Khan got the Falcon?
Yeah, Kevin, that was Lizzie's dad. He always says we're the East Coast Rogue Rebels, but I told him I'm the old, nerdier version of him. without the hair, moves, skills, charisma.
The East Coast Morales. It's Sal Morales, right?
Perales.
Okay. I apologize, Sal. I didn't mean to mess up your last name.
I know, fake fan. Come on. Now he'll never come on. He was just going to come on. He was in the gray. He was in the waiting room. He left. Plus, we didn't separate the M&Ms. Well, you have what's the planet everyone hated from the prequels?
All of them.
I know, but the
Geonosis.
The casino planet, not the prequels. The sequels.
Canto Bite.
Canto Bite. There was the
Fathier racing.
Yeah,
you bet.
So there you go. And then you have the racing in Resistance.
Yeah, which is great racing. I mean, we didn't see. And if we want to go back even further than that, in the Star Wars Droids cartoon, there were speeder racing. Boba Fett was a speed racer in the Star Wars Droids cartoon. So there's lots of that sort of stuff that's out there that would make for great video clips, for great additions
Well, the hunters
to stories.
You could have the story similar to the American West, where you had the great conservators, like the Teddy Roosevelt type of conservation, where you go kill an animal so you can bring it back and stuff it to save its life. You know what I mean? Like
I see the logic there.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, we can't skip over this. Kevin, Star Wars ESPN 4. That got a good chuckle out of me.
But you can have the guy, the two-headed guy from the race. He'd be like the Howard Cosell. He could be like the guy everyone wanted, like the.
Yeah, absolutely. We could have a couple color commentators. One that was the famous guy who did NCAA. Was it Dick Vitale? Or maybe even way back further than that, Howard Cosell.
Howard Cosell was probably the last time I remember watching sports. I'm just not a sports guy.
See, I think more recent. I think Kirkbride Street.
Terry Bradshaw was the last time I watched the Pittsburgh Steelers. Was when he was a quarterback.
Well, how about a John Madden? We could have a John Madden. He's a great.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Commentator.
Rest in peace to the legend. Sorry, I had to say it. I am a sports fan.
I enjoy
on the right show. Like, do we screen our guests?
I enjoy watching sports, but I think what happened was when I got a job, I worked in a restaurant, and so the sports watching at 15, I couldn't watch them. I was working every time. It's not like now where sports were on all the time. In the 80s, they were on at weekends and weeknight. I worked all the time, so I had to lose interest quick. So.
Ken, going back to your point, you have screened me far enough. You knew this.
100%. And you were welcome with open arms.
The one time we went to the Cantina, Scum and Villainy in L.A., we went trivia night, and it was sports trivia.
Of course it was. Sure.
Huh?
Yeah, exactly. That's what he said. We're like, what? So everyone got a kick out of that. Because it used to be, if you go into it has an old motorcycle mounted on the one part of the bar. So I don't know if it used to be like a biker bar or if it was just like a rowdy bar before they made it into, the Scum and Villainy.
See, you forgot to mention one of the all-time best sporting events in Star Wars, and it was in Rogue One.
Oh, what's that?
It was the droid fighting.
Oh yeah. Well, that was in Solo.
Oh, Solo, yeah.
Yeah. But they could have chasing down. They could have chasing down younglings too.
Oh.
No. So let's talk about that on Solo. How about and I heard this. Zoe was talking about the taxidermied Jedi in the amber.
Oh,
someone's riled up.
Because they were taxidermied trophies.
Yeah.
Well, see, I wonder about that. And do you think they were passed, or do you think they were just preserved?
No, I think they were passed. I think that was a trophy room / reminder.
Is both an acceptable answer? They were already dead, but their bodies were preserved. Maybe not so far as taxidermy.
No, but they had to be posed.
True.
Not
if you caught them in carbonite, because in carbonite they weren't really posed; they were just
right. But like when you kill a youngling, their helmet would fall off. I mean, that one looked like, you know what I mean? Like, because I wonder, like, fear and all the weapons of the Sith, those would invoke them to the average person walking through because we know what happens to Illuminara in Rebels. Remember, her corpse is barely kept alive just to lure Jedi. So is that the the predecessor to that. Like they're first like, hey, let's just put them all in an amber, and then someone's like, hey, look, if you just kind of somewhat keep them on their physical body alive, you could attract more Jedi.
Well,
You
my
know?
thought is because we know that the Emperor was trying to make force sensitive clones.
Yeah.
So it's not out of the realm of possibility that they are just being, flash frozen and preserved, so you could still have that that blood and that bloodline with the midichlorians, so you could use them as test subjects to try and make a force sensitive clone. Because that's the whole point of the Mandalorian, where the Empire wants to get a hold of Grogu because he's got such a high midichlorian count.
Well, I wonder if this was an earlier failure. Like the Emperor's like, because someone said in the comments, like the Emperor could have just got out of the movie watching Jurassic Park and thought, hey, just stick him in amber, and then maybe amber didn't work. And so, you know what I mean? So, like, maybe, and they're like, well, we can't carbon freeze them because as soon as you unfreeze them, they're going to start Jediing out on us. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, it could be those stages. And honestly, I hope in some ways, I hope they never tell us, other than it, like them just saying trophy room or something like that. Because I like it when they just, not everything has to be explained right away. Let someone else explain it 10 years from now when they're doing some other.
Yeah, that could be in a comic run, a novel. It could be in a lot, or who knows? We could hear about it in maybe the next Jedi video game that they just recently did the tease for. And that's one of the I had mentioned it before, the idea that they keep filling in the blanks and expanding the story and adding more bits and new characters and new stuff in all these different medias and working really hard. Leland Chi, you were my ultimate hero, being able to help connect all of these parts in ways that are beyond true comprehension, and I hope you have a full team of folks that are helping you with this, and you're not staying up all night by yourself trying to make all these pieces work.
Yeah. Now, did who was the guy they just put on the story group? They announced it at Celebration. They just put a new guy on the story group too.
Yeah, I don't recall. That may have been, and I didn't watch all the full panels yet, unfortunately.
I'm trying to think what panel we were at. Oh man, I forget what panel we were at, and he was announced that he got put on the story group. I wish, which I know they can't do it. I wish Marvel had an equivalent of a story group.
You don't think they do?
Well, they have like Jim Lee and some of the people like that, but the problem with Marvel is everything can't be canon because that's just the nature of comic books. If these Marvel movies would have come out, I'd say like 1993, like if they would have started the Marvel Cinematic Universe in 93, Marvel could have kept everything canon because up until 93, Marvel never reset anything. Like if they got a weird storyline, they just rewrote it. They just wrote it in or wrote it, so it would work. But then when they started resetting a lot of their characters, and so now there's no because their canon is kind of been. I think that's why a lot of Star Wars fans get a little worried about canon because Star Wars hasn't had to do that yet.
Well, they also had the benefit of the sale to Disney because they were able to take so much content and just say, it may have happened, it may not.
Well, I think Legends is what they did, which I think was really smart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you've always got and I think it would be a massive cop out if actually used. But you've always got the world between worlds to fall back on.
Yeah.
So if you have something that just seriously does not land whatsoever, you can fall back on the world between worlds, go back in time, change the past.
Yeah. Though I think the plus side to that part is I think that was used for a specific purpose. And I have a feeling that probably we probably won't see that get used very much. Other than I could see that being used as a portal for like a what if show.
Right.
Like if they did a Star Wars what if show.
Well, maybe. And from what we've seen so far right now, there was only one person who deliberately accessed it.
Yeah.
And that person, we have no idea where he is.
Right.
Right.
So it's not as if anyone else just, the world between worlds isn't like platform 9 3/4, where if you run at this wall at a certain pace, you can jump into it. It's a little bit more involved than that. And as of right now, the only person we know that visited there was Ezra, and we have no idea where he is.
Yeah. Yeah. Someone says they're writing what if stories now. I used to the Marvel What If comic book. I used to like. I'm curious when they start doing it with Star Wars if I'm going to like it as much.
Well, they do have versions of what ifs in Star Wars. It's not called What If though.
What is it?
Hold on one second. I just recently picked it up. Don't go anywhere.
I just had a thought. If they do like a TV show, like they did with Marvel, you could call it Star Wars Legends.
Yeah. Yeah.
It fits with the current branding you've got. It's the exact same vein of it may have happened, it may not have.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, so I was watching Orville. Have you ever watched Orville?
I've seen an episode or two, but I have not seen it through.
Because Missy and I, like when we look for shows, sometimes our number one reason for finding a show is how many seasons does it have? Like I'll watch a bad show just if I have because usually it's like when we're just getting something to kill time, and so we started watching Orville, and it's executive produced by Favreau, which I didn't realize.
Oh yeah, because he voices. Didn't he voice one of the characters?
I don't know, but he has an executive producer credit. Because when I was first watching it, I was trying to figure out if it was a spoof or an homage or what it is, and it seems more of like an homage to Star Trek than Star Wars. But it has a little bit of some of the Star Trek feel. I mean, the Star Wars feel in it, and it has that political. Like every episode is a political statement. Like that's which I thought was pretty neat. What do you got there, Ken?
So this is called Star Wars Visionaries. It's not new. This particular one came out in April of 2005.
Oh, okay.
And on the back it says they've been responsible for some of the most dazzling and awe-inspiring visuals ever put to film, and now the concept artists behind Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, bring their considerable talents to comics. The gifted minds of the Lucasfilm art department and the visual effects powerhouse Industrial Light and Magic come together to tell their own Star Wars tales in this compilation of short stories. Given free rein to explore any and every aspect of the Star Wars universe, each artist offers a new twist or a deeper view into that galaxy far, far away. Nowhere else will you find a more pure or more different look at George Lucas's enduring creation than through the eyes of the Star Wars visionaries. And it's a Dark Horse book.
Nice.
And we also recently were lucky enough on Disney Plus to get Star Wars Visions. So in some ways, that's kind of like the What If.
Yeah, that's true. I never thought about it. Yeah, you're right.
And it's exciting to know that they're going to do a season 2 of Visions. And I think what's even cooler about it, and I was at a Star Wars related event recently, and I was mentioning this idea, and it got poo-pooed. And I said, what if they had artists from other countries, other types of animation? Because Visions was the anime type style from different animation houses, and one of the people there said, "That's stupid. Who's ever heard of European cartoons or African cartoons? Anime and manga is the only one."
They did announce it at Celebration that it was coming from a bunch of different countries.
Yes, and I almost fell on the floor when I heard that. I'm like, I said it. Thought it would be fantastic. Kathleen Kennedy must have my house bugged. And I thought Visions was remarkable. It was very cool. And so I think, what if they do have it. It's just not called What If. And I think it's so
Yeah.
great that we got, folks like our friend Loud Hits who's doing that, and the folks that have submitted things for.
What's that?
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I just picked this up from Target. If I can not get so much glare.
That is very
I don't
cool.
know if I can make your screen large. Let me see if I can do that. Oops, I can make my screen large. Let me see. Wow. There.
That's cool.
There we go.
Yeah.
They did a whole novel on Ronin, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yes.
And they have some other Ronin related stuff coming out.
Oh, that's awesome. Was
Yeah,
there
there's
any
a-
Ronin cosplay at Celebration?
Oh, there was
I didn't
one.
see-
I got a picture of one somewhere. There was a really good one, and then there was a painting of the Visions.
Okay.
And so I got a picture of him. With the sign somewhere. I gotta go through my pictures.
I told you I'm bringing up an empty thumb drive so I can snag all your photographs from Celebration,
Yeah.
because I wasn't lucky enough to get there this year.
Well, you get tickets haven't gone on sale yet for London yet. They haven't updated. My gripe with ReadPop, they never update their entire site. They'll just update the flash page, and then you click on tickets, and it'll take you to however they were selling the previous tickets.
Nice.
So
I do think it would be fun to get us together, and even if we, figured out a way of doing some sort of a thing with the folks that are on here right now, and just brainstorm some of these cool what if ideas or these little vignette ideas, and then literally and figuratively go and do it, because we have the folks with the skill, we have the folks with the will, we have the folks with the gear.
yeah,
Just got to do it.
yeah. Well, that's the thing. I mean, we're just spread out enough. We all need to just buy a town, just somewhere in the middle. Though that would put us in a really weird spot in Pennsylvania. I don't know if we want to go there. Western PA can be a little scary.
Western PA is where Pittsburgh, the worst city on earth, is.
Hey, that's where my grandparents, my grandfather, grew up in Pittsburgh when he was little.
You're not going to guilt trip me into changing my answer.
No, I don't. He didn't like Pittsburgh either. So he moved to Coatesville. But I'm the first person in my family that didn't work in a steel mill. So
I have an odd, funny connection to Pittsburgh. So my aunt lived there for a while in the mid to late 80s, and I got to go visit her as a kid, and she took me to an amusement park in Pittsburgh.
Oh yeah,
called Kennywood.
Oh,
Yes.
Is it still around?
I'm
It
not
is
sure.
indeed.
I went there in the late 90s, so I'm not sure if it's there now. But I always got a kick out of there being a kangaroo character that had part of my name in it. I always thought it was cool as a kid.
When we go out to Steel City, the one thing I'm out in that part of Pennsylvania is some place can be 2 miles away on a map, but you got to drive around a stupid mountain to get to it. Everything's like on these tops of mountains that you can't get to. So
yeah, with windy, curvy roads and everything like that. And if
yeah.
you're not careful, you end up going down a steep ravine.
I go as far as Monroeville. That's about as far west as I go. Go to Steel City.
You got to come to Ohio just once.
I drove through it a couple times, like when we went to Chicago, when we went to California, and then I went to a con in West Virginia, but somehow I went through Ohio and then down. I forget where the con was. It was a little tiny con.
I've been to Cedar Point.
It was and then
rode the giant wheel.
And then one of the guys, I think, was there a SeaWorld in Ohio at one point?
At one point, yes, but it got shut down because who in their right mind is vacationing to go to SeaWorld in Ohio?
When there's not a sea near it. Yeah, we went to that, and there was a when I was little, and there was a theme park that had all the DC characters near there. and we saw a what are the jet ski? No, sir. When they pull you behind a boat with skis on, water skiing
Water ski?
show.
Mhm.
It was a DC superhero and supervillain water ski show. That might have even been at SeaWorld. That might have been at SeaWorld. Now that I think about it.
Oh, that's gonna drive me nuts now. Where was that?
So that would have probably been in the 70s.
I don't know if they had anything like that at Cedar Point. I don't remember what the theme of Cedar Point was.
The theme of Cedar Point is roller coasters
Okay.
and Snoopy for some reason.
Yeah, Snoopy's making a comeback. My students love Snoopy.
Oh, I grew up with Snoopy. My you know how you always have that childhood stuffed animal.
Mm-hmm.
Mine was one of the Kohl's Care Snoopys.
Nice.
Yes, SeaWorld Ohio, which I am now finding out because I pulled up the Wikipedia page, of course, is only about 40, no, not even, probably 30 minutes from where I live
Yeah.
in the middle of Northeast Ohio.
We went there for some reason.
Yeah, it closed in October. It opened in May of 1970 and closed in October of 2000.
Oh, so we could break in and take some cool abandoned photographs.
It probably, yeah. I believe it still exists because if you Google it, there is still an address attached to it.
Okay, so wait, this is, I think SeaWorld is the most we've gone off topic.
Oh, 100%.
I don't know. That's a
SeaWorld?
This is pretty far off.
We've talked about sea creatures.
That's true. That's true. No, I didn't.
We've talked about the sounds of those sea creatures.
You know, the one thing I didn't want to hurt Anthony's feeling though is he put the wrong inflatable Falcon on our background.
Yes, he put the one that's the Christmas.
He put the
version.
floaty, or no, the Christmas version.
That's the Christmas version.
Yeah, which
Hey,
is still $500.
There's also an inflatable tie back there too.
Yeah.
That's a tie advance though.
Did you tell you guys I've established that the hunter is force sensitive? Who's the hunter?
Hunter from Bad Batch.
Oh, okay.
He's the one who looks like John Rambo.
Yeah. Force sensitive.
Ken, I love
Yeah.
how you felt that the explanation to either of us was necessary. That he looks like Rambo.
Yeah.
Well, it's so you don't think I'm talking about Echo or Tick
Teak.
or Rekka.
He can feel electromagnet. Yeah. I don't know. I'm going to work on Keeley. That's about as clone as I'm going to get. Though
I'm disappointed you're not doing Rex.
I would do Rex, except there's so many Rexes, and like I've always liked Keeley. It's honestly a choice up between Keeley and Fox, but Fox doesn't have the pauldron, and I like the pauldron.
Yeah,
But
well,
Fox has the vent.
You're a Sandy at heart, so of course you
Yeah.
like the pauldron.
Yeah. But yeah, that's I'm still debating on that one. Is what should I mold it first? Because I'm still thinking of that ab armor I might do in rubber.
What? So you can actually slightly bend over at the waist.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm still not thrilled that you just stumbled across a full set of armor that's already assembled and weathered for.
Well,
That
I'd
fits
say
you.
the
Without needing
weathering.
much modification.
I'm a weathering snob, and the weathering is definitely not. The weathering looks good from about 4 or 5 feet, but then when you get close to it, it looks like less is more. Sometime on weathering, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, this is where you get to make it your own.
well, and Keeley is not that weathered. He's a little more battle damage, which is I'm gonna have to paint the whole stuff, and I'm gonna do one of my own helmets because I have both molds from Watchtower Armory. I have version 1 and version 2, and I like the version 1, even though a lot of people don't like the one like you have, Ken, is version 1, I believe.
Okay.
The skinnier one, it's like that's version. I like version 1 better. Version
And
2
that
is
version, you don't have the ability to put the electronics in the head fin. It's just a solid fin.
right, and but the only electronics really is a reflector on the back.
Oh, I thought it was actually a light.
It's a light, but a lot of guys will just put a piece of reflective tape.
Okay.
And then I mean the version 2 though is a little more squat, so it fits your head better. Like the version 1's really tight fit, but I just like the looks of it better.
Gotcha.
And then I'm gonna I got to figure out how to put the stalk on it as well. Which
I'm glad the folks that listen to our show are just as geeky about things as we are, because we got Loud Hits. You're talking about how he can accurately explain how Hunter is force sensitive, and it all makes perfect sense. I love it.
Right. But yeah, I have the pauldron. I have a hard plastic pauldron, but I don't know if I want to go to a soft one. Someone give me one. I don't know where it came from. It's just in my house. So probably someone traded. Probably someone said, "Hey, do you have one of these?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And they probably like, "Here, you can have this in place of it or something." Though I gave my pistols away, which I do wish I still had my animated clone pistols, because I had a really beautiful cast set. And I just thought I'd never get around to doing a clone. So I was at a troop with Emily Schramm. I don't know if you guys know her. She used to be the head of all the clones. She does Rex. Mm-hmm. And she was talking about a new recruit that had just finished. I was like, somehow I was like, I got pistols. I'll send them to you. You can give them to them. So, and now I'm like, damn it, I wish I had those pistols.
And I don't want to get ahead of what we're about to do this weekend with our Tuscan build and all of those fun things. I also think it would be fun if we got together and made some sort of bigger prop, this shared project that we could use for whatever reason, whether it's the fan film or to bring to some of these events or whatever, because there's so much cool stuff that's possible to make. Like, I don't know. I just think
I want a heavy blaster like the snow, like the Mando grab the what is it, the
E-Web?
The E-Web. That's to me is the like the entry level of big props.
Real quick, Ken, this is the second time we've done it. Responded to Mike's question at the exact same time. We did it with Canto Bite, and we just did it with the E-Web.
Yeah, the E-Web. I think the E-Web it's the gateway drug of big props. And I've seen some really good ones. The only thing I noticed with some of them is they get to scale off a little bit, because I think they scale it off the toy when they draw their scales, and it tends to make the legs way too big. Mm-hmm. But make one, and Mando, John can grab it, and we can just film him mowing people down. And then guys used to put lights in them, so then when the guys do special effects, they use that as their key point, to put the special effects in.
With that in mind, what do you think would be some other cool ones to build? I've always thought that some of the consoles were kind of neat looking, whether we're talking about the ones on the Death Star where it was the circular thing with panels that fold out almost like a flower. I don't even know how to describe it.
Yeah. Someone had one of those at Celebration. Really? They built the one. It's like a semicircle in it, and it kind of comes out like that. Like it's. Does that make sense? Is that the one you're talking about? Where it's like a semicircle. Yeah, they had some really good ones. It just depends when you build the props. Like, if you're building for a fan film, a specific one, then that's different. But when we're building them in the costuming group, they always have to have, you want a purpose that kids or someone can take a picture with. Because some of the best pictures is dictated by the background. Like, you could have the world's best costumes, and if you take it at the wrong side of the con where there's thousands of people behind you and it jumbled up colors, you lose some of that effect. But yeah, I think consoles, all different kinds. Like I still think the front console and the back thing of the Falcon, where you looks like the cockpit. Like
Oh
I'm
goodness, yeah.
my plan for my classroom this year is I'm just going to get printed on a canvas like I did for Zoe. I'm getting the background of the interior of the Falcon, so when I'm sitting at my desk, it'll look like I'm sitting inside the Falcon. My kids might not appreciate it, but I'll appreciate it every day.
What if you did the Razor Crest?
Maybe I don't know if there's any good pictures of the Razor Crest.
Oh, there's got to be now.
I have to check the. Oh yeah, I mean I might have to go 50. I'll have to see. That's not a bad idea, especially if it has like Grogu sitting there on his little seat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can pop squat front and center.
And there you go. Yeah, I always thought a speeder bike would be.
See, if I did a speeder bike, I'd like to figure out how to mount it to one of those battery operated wheelchairs, the hover round kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I've seen. Have you the guys who did the Rex and Around guys built one on one of the electric bikes,
Okay.
and then they put the mirrors on the side, and they went down. I think they drove through. I think they were in L.A. or something.
Mhm.
Oh, that's cool.
And but I like the stat. There was a static one in West Virginia, and he had it on real thin poles, and it just looks so good because some of the guys build them on mobile things, and it seems cool. But when you go to take a picture, they got to jumble all the stuff around them.
Oh, so you don't see the base.
And it looks a little. It doesn't look as good.
Well, I've seen a generic one built on like a sawhorse.
Yeah. Well, I did that. I built one on a sawhorse for a guy years ago. Well, probably I want to say probably almost 8 years ago. I built one on a sawhorse for a guy, like a swoop bike. I built it on a foldable sawhorse.
That's another sport that we haven't seen on
Swoop bike,
screen.
yeah.
We've seen it in video games, but swoop bike racing.
Yeah.
We've seen the swoop bikes. Enfys Nest and the Cloud Riders rode them,
Yeah.
and from what I remember of Dengar's backstory, he's all bandaged up because of a accident he had with Han when Han was a swoop bike rider. But I don't think we've ever seen swoop bike racing in a movie or a show.
Well, and that brings up a good point. The thing I think, about a lot of the new Star Wars canon, not every character rotates around. There for a while in Legends, everything rotated around Han, Luke, or Leia. Like every story, they were almost like the Scooby-Doo of Star Wars. Like they got in the mystery machine, and they went and solved crime,
Capers.
Yeah. There you go, swoop bike gang. There we go.
I love the ones that they had in the Book of Boba Fett. They even had names on their jackets and stuff like that. They had little logos painted on their bikes, and that was really some great world building in that related to that little crime gang.
And the other bikes, which would be like the lowrider cars, the ones that worked for Boba Fett.
Oh, the mods.
The mods. Well, they remind me. I have a neighbor. I don't know if he still has a car, but he has one of those like really low cars where the wheels are like bent in, stuff like that. Like to me, I'm like, it's not my kind of car, but that's like a whole just like those guys, like they were all mods, but then their bikes were all like pristine. Like they probably spent 20 hours a day wiping down all their chrome, But that's a whole thing.
Yeah, they couldn't afford water.
Yeah.
And it's so funny that you mentioned the mods specifically and lowrider cars. How many kind of groups there are like that in the real world? So I grew up in a family that had some. Well, my mom's boyfriend when I was younger was in a motorcycle group. I don't want to call it a gang because I don't know if it was one, even though they had jackets and patches and hung out together and did stupid shit. But some of the folks in the groups, they loved choppers.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, I remember my mom's boyfriend at one point. The front forks on his chopper were probably between 7 and 10 feet long.
Oh yeah.
Like super ridiculous, and just cruise around town into late November, early December. Didn't matter if there was snow on the ground or not. He's just hauling around on that hog with the big long forks.
Well, I was never a motorcycle guy, but because I worked on bugs, guys would sometimes build the two person trikes, and the back end of those years ago were a Volkswagen Beetle. They would basically just weld the frame of a Harley on the front of the front of a VW Beetle frame, and put that fiberglass tub where this person would sit up high, and it was just a bug motor, on the back. So, but yeah, that's I don't know. I think Obi-Wan. I just hope the shows keep coming. Like the next one, the Andor show, which is I think Andor is going to surprise all of us, because when I saw the previews for Andor, I was like, I didn't even know I wanted all this, and it looks good. Like I didn't know I was going to be anticipating Andor.
So I think we're going to enjoy Andor, and I'm worried because of what they've said about it, because they've already used some phrases describing it that I've heard people use talking about what they haven't liked about other things. So they've talked. I think the phrase that they've used is subversion. They're subverting expectations, that they're going to do things that people didn't expect, which I think personally, and I don't know if you agree with it or not, I'm going to guess maybe you do, that you're okay with that.
Oh yeah.
And the fact that they've already got 2 seasons, like 24 episodes.
That's who is in the story group. The guy who either executive produced or whatever, Andor. That's what it was. I was on the Andor panel, and he was the guy saying it.
Was that Gilroy?
The guy with the beard? I don't know. I don't know his name.
Okay.
But he was talking about how he's now on part of the story group.
Okay.
The thing with subversion and whatnot is, as much as I like to be fan serviced, and I want to see things that are like, oh, that's a great callback, I don't want to be spoon fed everything.
Right.
I still want there to be some surprises. I mean, just with Obi-Wan, I didn't expect Leia to be the main supporting character, but I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, they surprised us all with that. I mean, because I really thought it was going to be. My mind never even went to Leia. I just figured that was, and then they fixed stuff that people used to complain about. They complained about in the prequels or the sequels. Why did they name him Ben? Well, now there you go. They just explained why she named her son Ben, because she never really met Kenobi in the old canon. Well, now you think about a child at 10 that went through all of that. Ben Kenobi will never leave her memory.
Well, even with that said, so it's based on what we had. Yes, you could say it's true. She never met Ben. However, her adopted father did.
Oh, yeah.
And so for all we know, he told her lots and lots and lots of stories about Ben Kenobi. So much so that she felt connected to him. Maybe Bale talked about how Ben saved his life at one point, and Leia was so taken by that she chose to name her son Ben, or the fact that Han had met Ben or whatever. But I mean, so what some folks call plot holes may not actually be plot holes after all. They're just parts of the story that haven't been described yet until something like this comes up.
Well, we also live in 2022. There's families of adopted children where they speak of adopting the children. In 1977, you could barely, in most cases, if you were adopted, no one talked about it. And most people, like I was raised partially by my mom and stepdad. I didn't even know it was my stepdad until I was in 8th grade. I thought it was my real dad. You know what I mean? Like people just didn't talk about it back then. And you kind of it was that Brady Bunch mentality. You know what I mean? Like you had you think about the Brady Bunch television show that was going on slightly before that. If that show was made now, the sons would have talked a little bit about their mother. And, you know what I mean? But it's just like back in that time, it was like, okay, this is what you're doing. And so I think some of us that are older, we never thought of Leia talking her dad talking about her real mother.
Yeah. And nowadays there probably would have been some other drama, like there would have been drama about going to their real mom's house on the weekends, or
Yeah,
the other dad not paying child support, and
Right.
marrying the babysitter or whatever. They would have
Right.
added those kind of layers to it, but
right.
Yeah, and I kind of want to, while we're on this topic, I kind of want to get your guys' take, because I've heard this a lot. And wow, yes, it clears up the, why would she name her son Ben if she never really knew him? On the flip side of that, and please bear with me, I got a little bit of setup here. In A New Hope, she doesn't seem to be that upset, that as upset as Luke was when Obi-Wan died. And I've heard a lot of people say, like, oh, well, if she went through all this, named her son after him, why does it appear that she doesn't care after he dies on the Death Star? And my take on it is that, she, after all of this, she understands that he was selfless. She's not heartbroken over it and devastated, because she knew that he was doing anything he could to protect Luke, Leia, Han, and Chewbacca.
well,
to get them
that's
off the
part
Death
of it, I think. And even if we look at what we've seen just recently, she became a good actress. So she was able to portray or fake certain things. And like, for instance, when she was, lying to Reva, or in A New Hope, lying to them about where the rebel base was, she was able to keep her emotions in check to get through what needed to be done and not display the true emotions for everyone to see. Because if she allowed that to happen, then it could potentially be used against her. I mean, and this is also, you're talking about the same character who, not too long before that, witnessed the destruction of her entire planet, and we don't see her shed a tear at all.
Right.
And that's where all her stuff was.
Yeah, that's what
That's
like,
where Lola was.
That's where Lola was. That's where Bail. That's where all of those things were. And gotta keep going. Gotta carry on. We got things to do, and I'm not gonna sit around here and mope. We got steps to take and actions to moves to make. Well, how are they to say it? These kids these days.
Yeah, well, it could be what you said too, Ken. Her dad talked to him about Kenobi, because she calls him General Kenobi. So she knew him as Ben, the protector of the Jedi, this and that. Well, then she probably heard years of General, and it's kind of along those lines of, like, you mourn for your fallen soldiers and all that kind of stuff, but you have that preconceived notion that they're in harm's way. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, it's tragic when you lose a soldier and stuff like that. However, for her, they were up against life or death. Not only did she lose her planet, but moments before that, think of all the guys in the hallway when they were taking off with the plans that got butchered by Vader. So there's a whole, there's a whole big thing where you have to, and I think you see it in real life. I mean, I think of all the terrible things that have happened in my life, and I've had a pretty good life, but when the things you think that are going to be those terrible things in your life that you think about, when they happen, it's amazing how the human resilience can kick in, and you can get done what you have to get done at the moment. Like, as much as you think you're going to break down. Now, we have forgot, or maybe just haven't got to it. Was it the third sister? I forget her character's name.
Reva?
Yeah. What's happening with her? Is that a whole new storyline coming somewhere?
There's that fifth sister.
No, Reva was a third sister.
Reva was third sister. Okay.
Yeah,
well,
I
it's
hope
possible.
She gets a spinoff. Go ahead, Ken.
Well, yeah, I think it's definitely possible that spinoff. The question is, will the spinoff be of her as the third sister, or will it be a spinoff of this other character, this other identity that she takes on because she's no longer wanting be on Squad Vader and do those sort of things anymore.
Yeah, I don't think Vader's going to let her come back. He's not an overly forgiving fellow.
Well, if it meets his needs or suits his purposes, he may. I mean,
Yeah.
think about where he literally had her hung up in the air using the Force, and all she had to say was, "Wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. They're being tracked. So before you snap my neck like a twig, let me give you all the details first." And all right, let's hear this.
Oh yeah, there we go. Part of Ahsoka. Though I can't say gray because I don't believe in a gray Jedi, but I don't want to get in that debate. I believe in the Jedi philosophy. Either you're a Jedi or you're not. And that's just me.
Well, with that in mind, that's a fun conversation to have.
Yeah.
Like, what is a Jedi, and what does it take to become one? And is there a difference between a Jedi and a Force user? And is there a difference between a Force user and a Sith?
Well, see, Ahsoka is not a Jedi. She points that out, right? That she's not a Jedi. So she's just a Force user trained in most of the Jedi ways. So let's put it in our terms. We have the 501st, right? So to be in the 501st, you have to build the armor. You have to get it approved. You get your number, and then you do an event. You're a 501st member. If you skip any of those steps, like my Sand Trooper is basically 501st approvable, but it's not a 501st costume. You know what I mean? So it's just a set of, like, to me, the Jedi is just a set of dogma that they set up, which we'll probably learn more about in the New High Republic stuff. It's just a dogma they set up that you have to meet all these things, and if you don't get every single one of them, if it's a checklist, if you don't do all those things on a checklist, then you're not a Jedi. Now, Ahsoka probably is more a Jedi than anyone, but she didn't have that official tag. Does that make sense? And then to me, the Sith is just someone whose ultimate goal, which I think you were saying, Ken, last time or something, is to help themselves.
And do you think the Sith have the same extreme set of dogma that the Jedi do?
I don't think so, because being selfish is different depending on who you are. But it's that ultimate power. I mean, I guess it all falls down to power. You know what I mean? But you could be a Sith Lord. I mean, they have some dogma like Rule of Two and all that, but
Well, I mean, if you look at it though, I mean, you've got pretty much the same thing on the dark side, because you look at the Inquisitors, Kylo Ren, Snoke. They're not technically Sith; they are just dark side Force users.
It's true.
So you've got light side Force users, and you've got Jedi. You've got dark side Force users, and then you have Sith. So you've got the extreme and then the moderate on both sides.
That's true.
Do you think we'll ever see Broom Boy again?
I doubt it. I wouldn't put my money on it. And the only reason I say that is because just as a real world, just how unwell The Last Jedi was received, how much it was hated and destroyed. I don't think that you're going to see a lot of the things that they set up in future projects, unless it happens like the prequels, where the current generation that is the same age that I was when the prequels came out, they finally find their voice and are able to bring that back into popularity in the broad scope of things.
Yeah, I still think the actors that were in, I think the once those actors are ready to come back to those parts, those roles, is what's going to change. It's going to speed up the love for the because the Mandalorian to me proved that that Lucasfilm doesn't have to worry about giving people what people think they want. People thought they wanted a Boba Fett show. Like they talked about Boba Fett about the same time as they talked about Obi-Wan. When Lucasfilm first bought or when Disney first bought it, that was the two rumors was a Boba Fett movie and a Kenobi movie. You know?
Yeah, and I had heard at one point they actually had a trailer prepared for a Boba Fett movie for a celebration, and then for whatever reason said, nope, we're not going to do this. Or
And
even
so-
that what was the video game 1313?
Oh yeah. But yeah,
You know,
it was,
that same kind of thing. And I guess there was a lot of work done with that, and they said, nope, we're not going to do that either.
yeah.
That game was a spit shine away from being ready to go.
Yeah.
I mean,
well,
that was
that was a LucasArts. They closed down LucasArts. I mean, that was, you know.
yeah, because that was 2011, like 2011, 2012, somewhere in that era, just right before Disney bought Lucasfilm.
Yeah.
That game was 99% done. Like there's gameplay footage floating around on the internet of it, and it looks fantastic.
Well, and I remember when George Lucas, someone said Star Wars Underworlds. I remember when he was trying to work on that too, that television show, and it just wasn't. There just wasn't the there wasn't the medium wasn't really ready for that because he would have had to go through a studio. You know what I mean? And it just wasn't ready for what they have now. But like,
Well, and I don't think they had the technology for it, and that's one of the.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the links that has been kind of connected all these things that we got from A to B because the technology finally was ready for it. We got from B to C because the technology was ready for it, and or the cost made sense.
Yeah.
You know, so now they're at that place where they've got the stagecraft, and they've got the re-speecher, and they've got the deep fake face or whatever it's called, and they can do all of these things on today's TV budget, whereas before it would have been so expensive, I guess, to do these things that it just didn't make sense to do it as a TV show.
Well, and the volume in some ways has almost taken us back to 1930s television, where they used to make it all in warehouses. You know what I mean? So now you're bringing back the art of making a set and doing all that like they did it, you know, E Street and all that for the original movies, but you have that technology that makes it look like you're not in a set, you know, and stuff without all the effort it takes, just like you're saying with the money. But like the Mandalorian to me proves, if someone would have said, look, we're going to give you a buddy movie where we have this cold-blooded killer and he's going to have Baby Yoda, like if someone would have said that to you, you know, 10 years ago, you would have thought that's going to be the dumbest show ever. Like, you know what I mean? It just sounds, you know, and if they would have leaked shots of Baby Yoda, people would have picked apart that animatronic thing, you know, like it's just. And,
oh yeah, it would have been ridiculed. They would have been hated before it even made the screen.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I hate when they show stills of costumes and stuff because you never know what it's going to look like. I mean, because just the angle, just the angle someone takes of a costume, and we got the Mandalorian, which was awesome because he was a nobody, and he fit into the world, but it wasn't, you know, and it felt Star Wars. And then when we got Boba Fett, which I know some people didn't like, Boba Fett to me I really liked because I think I would have been bored if Boba Fett was exactly because like the legend of Boba Fett in some ways was almost comical. And I think the Clone Wars was even showed that it was kind of comical. Like Boba Fett wasn't as great as his legend was.
Well, I also think the cartoon showed Boba at a different time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they showed Boba Fett as a child becoming an adolescent. And
Right.
the Boba Fett was in the original trilogy. That was the established bounty hunter that literally just stood around looking cool and everybody loved him. We heard stories that he was, you know, the best bounty hunter in the galaxy. We never saw anything that proved that.
Which I hope shows in Lando. I hope when they do the Lando show, I don't want it to be the Boba Fett 2 show, but I hope just in the background it's always Boba Fett bringing in people, like, like almost in the background, like Lando's just walking through, and you see Boba Fett dragging in like 3 whatever with Jabba, or you know what I mean, like. But I don't know. It's just all these shows, they just know what they're doing. Like they're at some point, other than having more talent and more access, they're just like us. Like the creators now, they love Star Wars and they know Star Wars, and they're trying to do it right. We lost your sound, Ken. We can't hear you, Ken.
Sorry about that. My apologies. Not only do they love Star Wars, and it shows, they love the stuff that George put into it. And what I mean by this, he didn't just make this stuff up out of nowhere.
Right.
He liked what he liked. He put it in a blender, mixed it all up, and it added some of his love, his stories, his ideas, and came up with something slightly different. And so you had mentioned the idea of this is like the serials. That's what George had in mind from the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And we're now at the place where that is much more realistic and possible than ever before. And the folks that are making this stuff are similar to George in that they have a variety of backgrounds. They have a variety of stories. They have so much that they can go to. So if you mentioned The Mandalorian, if you talk to Dave Filoni, I'm going to bet he's picked up stuff from Akira Kurosawa. He's picked up stuff from animation. He's picked up stuff from philosophy and history, and peppered it all together, cobbled it all together. And here's some of the stuff that shows up, whether it's from a visual perspective or from a story perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And because of those things, it makes it much more special. And it's not just a recreation of something, but playing homage to and respecting and building on it in this fancy made up universe that has, giant space bear dogs that can fly spaceships, who escape worm creatures in an asteroid, with ships that make noise in space, and laser swords that can cut through some stuff and bounce off others. It's wild and wonderful. We got folks like the people who are listening to this who understand the words and get excited about it and philosophize about it and truly enjoy it, rather than criticize and beat up and insult the people that put so much effort and energy into it.
Yeah. So this is slightly random, but I want to say it was before Zoe was born, so it was in the 90s. There was a guy, Josh Rubenstein, that was working on a fan film, and it was Star Wars. I think it was called Star Wars Legends or Star Wars something, whatever. But I auditioned for the villain.
Okay.
One more time.
There was some fan film, and I just remembered. I went down to Philadelphia and I auditioned for the villain, of some fan film, and it was Josh Rubenstein, and I don't know. It was the movie was either going to, the fan film was either going to be Star Wars Legends or Star Wars Jedi Knights. It was one of those two. This was probably in 96 or 97. I gotta figure out. I have it written down somewhere. I gotta figure out where it's at. It was right after I closed my store.
So tonight, we've learned that you're related to an actor, and you auditioned to be an actor.
To be in a fan film.
On top of knowing that,
and I did terrible.
You already are an actor because you're in the upcoming Han Solo Chronicles.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Mike, you live the most humble, amazing life I have ever heard. And it's never like you never brag about it. It just happens to come up in conversation. You don't give off the appearance. It's never like I auditioned for a fan film and you didn't. It's like, oh yeah, no, there was this one time in the 90s that I auditioned to be the villain in a fan film. Yeah, it's never blatant.
No, but I forgot all about that. And we were talking, and then I think when we said the force.net, it jarred my mind. Because it was like really early on in the internet days. So it's just weird because I knew when I was a kid I needed to have stormtrooper armor. I never knew when I was a kid what entry level of Star Wars stormtrooper armor would have done for me. You know, like my stormtrooper armor was my gateway into a whole nother world.
Oh yeah, not even just a whole nother world. Think about the other worlds, the other individual worlds that it's projected you into. I mean, heck, it got the 3 of our worlds to collide.
Yeah. Did John die? He looked like he banged.
Did he fall asleep again?
He disappeared.
No, I've got a bad shoulder.
Oh, okay. I thought you knocked yourself out or something.
No, I dislocated my shoulder back in my senior year of high school and never did anything to get it fixed. And if I move it the wrong way, it like kind of shifts around.
Oh, that's less than fun.
Yeah, I would definitely get that checked out. Only because I'm at the age where all those little things I let go. I was like, oh, I don't need to get my knees checked out. They'll be fine. You know.
Yeah. No, it's on my list, but you know, the it's expensive.
I know. I pay enormous amounts of money for healthcare and still have a $3,000 deductible. So.
Hey, it's better than the health insurance that at our work. We've got a $5,000 deductible.
Oh man. Yeah.
See, right there, I think that's the randomest thing that we've ever said on this podcast.
Yeah.
That also may be the most real world adult thing that's ever been discussed on this podcast. Oh my goodness, the size of my deductible.
And the next breath, we'll talk about buying armor.
Oh, goodness, that's so funny.
Healthcare, costumes.
Well, healthcare. What's the difference between a Sith and a Jedi?
Yeah.
How do those fit in the same episode?
The Jedi have healthcare. The
podcast stream.
You ever see Palpatine's teeth? They don't have dental. You know.
Yeah, or his face.
Well, how about Darth Maul? I mean, shoot, if we're gonna go down the path of who's got the worst teeth. There's actually a character that used to be called Snagglepuss, or was it Snaggletooth? Snaggletooth. That's what it was. Snagglepuss was the cartoon character.
Right. We had a picture of the Emperor smiling, and we taped on the girls' bathroom when they were really little to remind them to brush their teeth.
Oh, that's not nice.
That's smart.
You know, Ian listens to our show. It's nothing personal, Ian. It's just trying to help his kids have better dental practices.
I'm hoping that when Zoe is out in LA, they have another somewhere where they bus in some regular like people they know, and Zoe, since she knows a bunch of people, that we'll be looking at her picture on a still frame of some upcoming Star Wars live action.
Well, the chances are probably better there than in southern New Jersey.
Yeah.
Although, Leland, if you're listening, I know I said it before, the three of us who make a great band in the next show, whatever it is, we'll be in the corner of the cantina. The only thing that I request is you don't have us play Jizz Rock, because that's just weird to say.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to have to repeat that phrase again.
Wait, you don't want to be a jizz whaler?
I'm not sure. I mean, and for the folks listening, don't Google that. Don't Google Jizz Whaler or OnlyFans Star Wars.
That's what it's called.
That is what the music is called.
I know this.
I know your dream would be a band. Mine would. I want to be the TIE fighter mechanic that is an old curmudgeon-y, like, you know how they always have in those war movies the mechanic that yells at this hotshot pilot because he's wrecking his plane,
wearing overalls and a greasy rag in his back.
Yeah, that's what I want to be, and I want to yell at Darth Vader for wrecking his ship or something.
Oh, see, we've all got different ideas. I would want to be like one of the people like on the Tatooine streets, just like running a little like a booth of wares, just negotiating back and forth.
Listen, okay.
Would it be worth 7 whoopee whoopee?
No, you have to listen. So you have to
I-
listen to the newest Steel Wars when he's talking. He did a series of when he went to there, right? And so he walks across, as Ajax Citizen, but he was talking about that the one guy, I guess, like got in the way of Uncle Owen, right? So he kind of got demoted and moved to being a vendor, like to look like a person selling wares. So when you say that, it's just pretty funny because that was like not something you wanted to do because you weren't really in a shot,
Well, how about what if the three of us were just hanging out in a either at the bar at the cantina or in one of the booths, just hamming it up.
Yeah,
We're three fellow space pilots out on the town because we just got paid for the last delivery that we made, and here we are in this local hangout. Listen to some other jizz whalers. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe we're not whaling jizz after all. Maybe we're doing something different.
We're just enjoying fingering Dan and the modal notes.
There you go. So someone said they like the fake Jedi. I like that too. I thought that was a neat touch.
Haja was my favorite new character in the entire show. I also liked Rowan, but that's probably more so just because I like O'Shea Jackson.
Well,
Roken. Okay.
I like the
he was cool.
Yeah, I just thought they did a good job with all that. It just moved in a way with all those different characters, like it felt lived in. The only thing that was weird was when he gave Leia the holster, because like that was after she got blown up. Like, did they go back? Like, or did she just leave it on the thing? Like, that was like, did they wash it off first?
Well, so let's go back to the fake Jedi, and I agree and support all that you said. However, there's one part that I wondered about that. This was the time when the Jedi were not popular. This was the time where being seen as or known as a Jedi was dangerous to your health. So I was surprised that someone would choose that role so openly, like, "Oh yeah, I'm a Jedi. Look at I can close the windows." So that's putting like a big target on your head or on your back, knowing that Jedi were hunted across the galaxy. I mean, they were advertised as treasonous and villains. So I'm surprised that would be a role that folks would take on knowingly and willingly.
Well, I think with the lawlessness of Dayu, I think that sort of thing was, I don't want to say commonplace, but more acceptable would probably be a better term for it.
Okay. Like a shady underbelly.
I was also thinking it seemed like that kid was hanging out at the spaceport, so it could have kind of been one of those like tourist trap kind of thing. Like you know what I mean? Like they kind of like it was a con, and what's her name knew he wasn't a Jedi, or he would have been dead. So yes, so it. But it was just a neat thing because he got a redemption arc, kind of like he still is going to make some money off of those people. You know what I mean?
Or at least he said he was, and it's interesting because he was kind of like Han Solo. He was kind of like DJ. These morally gray, ambiguous kind of folks.
He's a reluctant hero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or was he a hero or an opportunist? So he wasn't necessarily doing what he did for kindness or good, but the results of his actions benefited the people that we like. Or the people that we celebrate.
Yeah. I mean, because I've said this to my girls too. There is a level in society you have to be monetarily or whatever you want to say that you can care about things, right? So I used to have a para that taught with me, and I used to teach a lesson on recycling and taking care of your environment. And then we were having a discussion once, and she was like, "Look, my husband left me with 2 kids. I live this. I said, I can't worry about that stuff. Like that's like she's like, I got to worry about how I'm going to feed my kids. And so like those at a certain level in the Star Wars universe, you if you're at the bottom, you're worrying about daily subsistence. And when I think was it Saul Guerrera or somewhere in Rogue One when they were saying like the flags flying above me doesn't really matter.
Yeah, as long as you don't look up.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying. But like there is that is a reality that Star Wars is kind of showing. It is like not all the people really care because like I always said as a joke, just because our family is split like Rebels and Empire. Like I was like, Tatooine doesn't look too bad. There's people that it doesn't look like the Empire's beating them up too bad.
Well, it's because it wasn't out of the Empire's jurisdiction.
Right, but it depends on where you're at in your life. If you're, and that's where I think the Jedi failed because what was the arc with Ahsoka, the 2 sisters? Like when they were talking about how their family got blown up in a battle with the Jedi and stuff, and the Jedi didn't seem to really care. Like it was just like collateral damage.
Well, what's interesting about that is, so with that, even just that phrase alone, the Jedi didn't care. We don't know. We know that they didn't act as if they did. They didn't do anything to display that they didn't care.
Right.
However, that doesn't mean that they didn't. It just means that they went on to do other stuff.
Right. But
and think about how many times we've walked past something or somebody, and it's not that we don't care about them as a human. It didn't catch our attention. We didn't commit time, effort, and energy to it. Had we stopped, had we been invited, had we had a different situation presented itself, maybe we would have made a different choice. And
that's true.
Easy,
yeah.
It's easy for us to look at the actions of somebody else to come up with an answer for it. That idea of judgment, it's something altogether different to ask somebody why they did or didn't do something, because then we have a much clearer answer of it, and then we can say closer to truth of did they care or not.
Well, and on top of that, it also falls under the victims, those 2 sisters, their perception becomes their own truth. Because to them, they don't care, and that puts you on a different path. And that's what, and that's what happens for both sides. And so you have the guy who's scamming people in Kenobi.
Yep.
He's just looking for an opportunity, because maybe it didn't impact him yet, or maybe it impacted him so badly that he's like, well, this is all, I don't really care about anyone else. I'm just going to do the best I can.
Yep.
And that's what's cool about Star Wars. It's that, and I was saying to John, and you heard me a little bit. I started watching Orville, and Orville, Orville, is that what it's called? Yeah, the sci-fi show is Seth
MacFarlane,
and it's super political in the sense that it's trying to use sci-fi to show. Which is kind of neat. It gives me a feeling of the old Star Trek / old Star Wars.
Yeah, there's so much goodness in it all. It's not just the flashy lights and the cool costumes. I mean, there's so much depth to it, and I know we've said it on here, so the folks listening now may or may not have heard this before, but that's one of the greatest things about it is we can get connected, one day a week and talk for hours and hours, get together again the next week, talk for hours and hours, and still never necessarily cover the same stuff.
Right. From 3 different states.
And in fact, we got many more states in the chat. I mean, we got a pal who's from Maine right now in Atlanta. The last time we had my friend Clem, who was chatting in from Sydney.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So not even just different. Well, I guess New South Wales is
a state.
A state.
Do they call them states in Australia?
Yep. It's the state of New South Wales. So I've lived in New York, New Jersey, New South Wales. So I've lived in 3 different new states. Oh,
Is there
in New
any other-
Hampshire, I've lived in 4 new states.
No, are you serious? So you've only lived in states that start with an N, new? The word
Not
new?
all, but those are the. I was born in New York. I also lived in Maryland and Washington D.C.
I'm sorry to hear that.
No, I love D.C. D.C. was fantastic.
Oh, I was in Maryland. I teach.
Oh, I was there just for maybe like a year or so, right outside of D.C.
If you don't like crabs, man, I don't eat crabs. Even before I was vegan, and people look at you like there's something wrong with you if you in Maryland.
Oh yeah, I thought that was the weirdest. I'm like, I grew up in upstate New York. I mean, I don't.
I live 10 miles from Maryland. It literally changes when I cross into that. You know, they don't have car inspection, so I've seen more in the last 10 years of driving into Maryland. I've seen more cars flipped over when it snows than my entire life living in PA. Like they get a half inch of snow and there's at least one flipped over car because they don't have snow tire. They don't have car inspection. You just drive whatever, you know, it gets inspected when you bought it.
Do you think somebody scared them, kind of like the detractors from the cartoon cars?
No, it's they think, well, it's 4-wheel drive. You know.
So
I can just go.
They're delusional. They don't know how physics work.
Yeah.
So I have 4-wheel drive, which means I can still do 60 in snow.
Yeah. No, I mean we're talking dusting of snow. Like when I always see those videos of the South when they get snow and people wreck, I always thought that was silly, but now I understand why. Like because I see it firsthand. Like, you know, 10 miles. It's 10 miles to Maryland from my house. Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do without Kenobi now, though. I did realize that that's the last show I'm going to be watching with Zoe, though. You know, because she'll be in LA when the new one starts.
Well, it might be the last show you watch with her on the couch.
Yeah, in person. Yeah,
you know, because I think even Disney Plus has the ability to do watch parties.
Yeah. I've never tried. We tried a little bit.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But the problem is you can't do it with the same account. Like you can have like 4 people or 5 people in your account, but you can't have a watch party with someone on your account. Like Zoe and I can't have a watch party.
There's got to be a way.
We tried. Didn't
Get a friend's Disney Plus account.
Yeah, there's got to be a way.
VR. Yeah, no, Zoe does have a VR. I don't know. I don't need one more monthly bill.
I know we've talked a lot about the things that we enjoyed about Kenobi. Do I have your permission to talk about one thing that I'm really confused by?
Yes.
And it has to do with the last episode.
Okay.
So in the last episode, which aired today, and I apologize if you haven't seen it yet. If you haven't seen it, this may spoil it. So I apologize.
We have the banner.
Okay.
We have the banner.
So in the last episode, we get to see how Anakin Skywalker, Darth Vader, gets that big head gash.
Yep.
Okay, so we get to see that in the last episode of the Kenobi show. Would one of you be kind enough to explain to me why Kenobi allowed him to live? Other than he has to live because that's how the story goes. But what was the benefit or the purpose of not destroying him when he had the chance again?
I don't think he was able to kill Anakin. Same reason he didn't finish him off on Mustafar.
Yeah, I agree with that statement.
Think it's that simplistic?
But I also think the Jedi really they lost their way during the Clone Wars.
Mm-hmm.
But the Jedi were keepers of peace.
Yeah, I understand that. However, Obi-Wan Kenobi has had no problem killing other people.
Yeah, I just think there's some good in him. I don't know if he senses good in him. I don't know. I think he thinks there's good in him. I really do. I you know what I mean?
Well, do you think that there was good in any of the clone troopers that Kenobi killed? Or the stormtroopers that Kenobi killed just in the episode before?
Well, but I think that's a personal connection he has with that. like it. As much as they say the Jedi say they're not allowed to have, connections with other people and stuff like
Attachments.
that. Attachments. I think that attachment is there, and that I don't think he can. Just like John said, I don't think he could have killed him then, and I don't think he could have killed him. And I think the Jedi is probably, at least Kenobi, is probably the eternal optimist. And so if he senses that little bit of good, he thinks all that good, will sprout. Or he could have thought, he also knows Anakin. He could have thought, look, if I beat him this bad, he's not coming back. You know what I mean? Like, because Anakin was he was a really great warrior and winner. He was a very bad loser too. He didn't like losing because he rarely.
Yeah. So why allow him to live to possibly fight another day?
I think it's
you're suffering. I want to put you out of your misery, and I want to put you out of my misery.
I think it's that friendship and brotherhood. Okay. Like when you look at Obi-Wan talking to Luke, and I know it was filmed out of order, so that it really doesn't apply. But you look at that, there was a love when he talked about Anakin and how much what a good person and everything was.
Gotcha.
So that's the way I my headcanon would say that he just couldn't do it, and that he thinks there's some good in him, But it is kind of dumb that he didn't kill him.
Yeah, especially because this is now the second time. I mean,
yeah.
Shoot, I mean, the last time you could have just flung him into the lava soup with the Force, just bloop, you're over.
Yeah. Well, but yeah, I don't, But Vader wasn't. I don't know. Was he really like? He could have still had some fight in him too, though.
See, I don't know. I think
because
Vader is, and will be a badass, and just losing a fight, losing a battle doesn't necessarily take that away. Because even let's take a boxer for instance. Even the best boxer takes some hits. Even the best boxer gets knocked down. Even the best boxer has the potential to lose.
Well, I wonder if he was worried if he killed him out of hate.
Yeah, that could be it too.
Like he could have come in to check with his emotions, and you know what I mean. Like maybe him killing him out of hate could have set him on a path, or could have maybe like his emotions could have alerted the Emperor to his existence. You know what I mean? Like, or it could have been a standoff in the sense that like maybe Vader was like, maybe Kenobi was tired mentally, and because Kenobi was down under those rocks holding them off for a while. He's a little out of practice. I want to know if he goes back to the meat cutting job. Because if not, how's he going to feed his camel?
Well, maybe he gets a promotion.
What would be the promotion to that though?
Maybe he's the guy. He's the pit boss. The other people are the cutters. He's the one that he's the manager.
Yeah.
I wonder if that giant space creature thing. Do you think that was a Purgle?
Yeah,
do you think that was one of those space whales?
Oh, maybe, yeah. I was thinking
because it looks like it had crashed kind of sideways into the desert. It didn't look like it had come out of the sand.
How long does that meat stay good?
I don't know.
I guess
they were salting it. They were preparing it.
Yeah.
Also,
maybe that's like a seasonal thing. Oh, look, space whale crash. We got to go harvest it and then move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Before we stray too far, if you avert your attention to the photo I sent in the group chat there, Ken, you had said that this is how Anakin gets the scar in his head. I could vaguely remember him already having it in Revenge of the Sith. And I found one good behind-the-scenes picture where you can tell he does have that scar on the top of his head already.
Gotcha, okay.
So, I don't know if that's rewriting how that happened, or if it's just coincidence that that's the
Well, he has spent a bunch of time in the back to bath, so maybe the back to bath healed it. I mean,
Very
heck,
true.
look what it did to Boba Fett's teeth.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, he
Yeah.
had some pearly whites from being in the back to bath.
That's true. Yeah, I just that triggered my mind to think. Wait a minute, I thought he had the scar already.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean that could be one of those things where it was just happened to be
I'm just happy we got to see Hayden in the suit.
yeah.
You know, and I loved how they did. How they they did the same thing they did in Rebels with when during the Twilight Apprentice, where it was mixed in. Where in Rebels it was Matt Lanter and James Earl Jones, but in Kenobi it's Hayden and James Earl Jones.
Yeah, that was cool.
Kind of intertwining.
Yeah, that was really cool.
However, I will say this though, because I've watched it 10 times now, just that specific 2 minutes. There are a couple lines that I expected because like it cuts in where it's just James Earl Jones when he says Obi-Wan the first time. There were a couple lines where I'm like, huh, shocked they went with Hayden there and not James Earl Jones. Like how when he said, and now I will destroy you. I was shocked that they stuck with Hayden on that one. Where that's Vader's line. He's used it twice now.
Well, one of the things I did find curious and exciting about this is there were lots of lines in the whole season that came from other places. You know, even in the very last bit when I think it was Leia said this though, will I see you again? I mean, that was the line that Anakin said to his mom.
Yeah.
Will I ever see you again? You know, and so that was like, whoa, that. So they did a wonderful job of using some of this stuff, not knowing. I mean, the characters weren't aware that the other people had said, so they weren't quoting them. It's interesting what does George Lucas often say? It's like poetry, it rhymes. I mean, you know, so it was nice to see that.
But you know, when it brings you back, it's an easy way to bring you back to, you know, connect it without actually having to put in an Easter egg, as they say.
Yeah.
Right. Now, I'm shocked we've made it 4 hours now, and we haven't talked about the biggest thing in the entire show.
What's that?
The inflatable
Casual
Falcon.
Qui-Gon.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I was so happy to finally see Liam Neeson back as Qui-Gon, but I was very taken aback where he was just like chill, not super robotic dialogue.
Yeah.
Was that the real Qui-Gon? Was that real? Was that true, Liam Neeson? Because I didn't see him credited. I don't think I saw him credited.
If they pulled that off, because that looks like Liam Neeson.
Because I thought one of the running jokes was that Liam Neeson always said he wouldn't do TV.
Oh.
So I don't know if that was really. I mean, it could be. I'm you know, I may be a Star Wars fan, but I definitely don't know it all. I just don't remember seeing his name, you know, in the credits.
Well, and he might have done it. He might have done it without credit too, though.
That's true.
You know, I mean,
Dave Filoni made it in the credits,
Yeah.
and Jon Favreau made it in the credits.
yeah, that was good. Well, you know, so all of this and all of, you know, what we're doing and what tons of other people are doing. I will tell you my pet peeve about new Star Wars is I hate now when people are. I don't mind a screen cap here and there, but I hate when people are putting whole segments of videos on social media.
Oh yeah.
You know, like because you have to respect you have to respect the art, you know, and the reason we're getting Star Wars, whether we like it or not, is because people are willing to pay for it. you know. And if you have people, because I saw a lot of people throwing up some of the stuff from Celebration, like some of the leaks and stuff. If that keeps happening, then we'll lose that. We'll lose that avenue of seeing stuff. Does that make
Or
sense?
they may modify what's done. I mean, think about some of the red carpet premieres where folks go when they go into those spaces. From what I've unfortunately, Pablo hasn't invited me to a red carpet event, so I
Yes.
don't know this for certain. I've never experienced this myself. I've just heard stories of wonderful people who've been able to do this. Sometimes before they go in, they have to give up their devices. They have to
Right.
turn them in, and they're wanded and checked, so they can't get into that space with such a thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know how that would be manageable at like a convention like Celebration where there
Well, they
are.
had. I think I was telling you they had like infrared scanners. They were looking at. They were scanning the audience.
Well, even with that, there was I saw on YouTube just yesterday that someone managed to snap some footage of the season 3 of The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
So that's out there. So even with the magic wand, so
Well, it's
maybe they
only
go
as
to
good
more
as the
extreme
employees
measures.
that walk around. Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. I don't know. And maybe I'm speaking from a place of I don't want to say privilege because I've got to go to some of those things. So I'm not saying it for that. I'm saying it for like I feel like Lucasfilm does a good job of trying to take care of their audience in all
Yeah.
sorts of ways. And Disney does too, and Marvel does too. And they have they have all kinds of events for people and stuff like that.
Well, I
And
think it's a wonderful example of just the greed. I mean, I think at some point, and I don't know when, this is just a guess. I'm going to guess that at some point they will release Mandalorian season 3 stuff. And so
yeah.
we'll get to see some of that stuff.
Yeah.
So instead of being greedy and either hunting for it or being selfish and saying, "Hey everybody, look at what I did." Just appreciate what's there and be patient for what is to
Yeah.
come.
Well, and because I think of the clips I see from the show, and again, if someone shows me a half a second of something that's benign because they're showing, but there's people that are taking like high def video grabs and throwing them up there.
Yep.
I just think you're hurting the audience too. I mean, because there is something to be said with all this stuff is just going in and seeing how it was supposed to be watched. And
Yep.
like I'm so glad that the Mandalorian was not spoiled from that first episode. Like I don't know if I'll ever be shocked as much as I was at the end of that first
Well,
episode.
I mean, it's hard to say with as much stuff as they got coming.
Well, that's true.
The shock value, the shock possibility, I think, is just getting bigger and bigger. I mean, even if we think of it from the perspective of what in the wild world of sports is Taika Waititi working on.
Oh, I can't wait for that one.
He has said that he's going to do what he can to not be connected to the characters that we know. Like he's not going to make. I think the thing was he's not going to do a story about Luke's relatives or Chewbacca's great grandmother or something. I don't remember what it exactly was, but I understood the gist of it, that he wants to do new stuff in this galaxy that may be connected to the ideas of it, but not necessarily connected to the specific people that we know, not deliberately and the focal point of the movie.
Yeah, his Thor movie comes out in 2 weeks, I think. Because I got my tickets for that already.
Oh, that's cool.
Well, I wanted the Thor hammer popcorn bucket, but I really can't drive down an hour to get a popcorn bucket. That I won't have a spot.
You just don't want to. It's all right. I understand.
I just don't have it. I don't have a space for it, and I'll just 3D print I'll 3D print a hammer if I really need one.
So you don't have space for the popcorn bucket, but you'll 3D print a hammer that will fit in the space that the popcorn bucket would have
Well,
gone
I'll make
into.
space. Well, no, it come down because it wouldn't fit in my popcorn bucket collection. I only have. I think my only Marvel. I think I have 2 Marvel ones. I have a Spider-Man head, and I might have a Infinity War or something like that. But
oh, that's fine.
I'm not as much of the Marvel popcorn bucket guy. I shouldn't be a Star Wars bucket either because I gotta make some room and I gotta get rid of these.
Why don't you just print out a Din Djarin helmet with a flat top that you can then turn over and it becomes a popcorn bowl? So that's
not a bad idea.
it's a Beskar bucket, popcorn bucket.
Yeah, the best car bucket. We gotta get a laser printer and make the best car bucket sign.
Oh yeah. Again, apologize for being behind the 8 ball here. I did scrub the credits. I did not see Liam Neeson in there.
Well, someone said that he's going to do the voice of Tales of the Jedi, but again, it could be uncredited. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like he could have done it for the love of the character, you know. And sometimes, and some actors they either want like final credit, like they want their name last, or they don't want it at all. You know, like it could be that he just like, hey, you know what? I like what you're doing, blah blah blah. You know.
See, I would just be concerned because from what I understand, Liam Neeson has a certain set of skills, and that he will find them.
Yeah. Speaking of the last credit, Hayden Christensen is the last credit in there. So Obi-Wan and Anakin bookend the credited cast.
Oh, that's cool.
Well, I just I'm surprised there was as little Qui-Gon. Like if you would have asked me 2 months ago, I would have thought there'd be more Qui-Gon. Like that's my picture in my head was him communing more with Qui-Gon.
And see, this is where it makes me wonder, because I know we had talked about it early on that Kenobi was supposed to be a movie. That was the original idea ages ago, and then with everything that happened, they decided to go the route of a TV show. I wonder if, in the process of the creation of the TV show, that they had already come to the conclusion, they had already come to the decision that they were going to do more, that they were going to flush this out even further than they had originally thought with the one movie. And that's why with this season, it was just blurp, a little bit of the rebellious Jedi at the very end to say, time for us to go and learn stuff.
Well, yeah. What also could be the Jedi ghosts, they can be, if you're not careful, they can be problematic in the universe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just in the like I know George Lucas's initial one was one ghost supposed to help him fight in Return of the Jedi. Weren't the ghosts of Obi-Wan and the ghost of Yoda supposed to help Luke fight the Emperor or something like that?
Yeah, I thought so.
There was something
they were supposed to play a much different role in it.
They were supposed to be, and then you had the ghost of Yoda that burnt the tree down and stuff like that. And so, like, if I had to pick one thing in Star Wars, if I had to change one thing, the ghosts are one of those things that can be somewhat problematic, because if you die as a Jedi and you still relatively have powers in the physical world, I don't know that there should be a lot more Jedi ghosts floating around then. Like, wouldn't that be your most important skill to learn? Like,
well, maybe. However, what I find even more interesting than that is, from what I understand, in order to become a ghost, you had to practice to do it. It wasn't one of those things where I died, now I'm a ghost. It's I have to work up to being ghost worthy.
Right, but what I'm saying is, if I was running a Jedi temple, and the kids are picking their skills, I'd be like, you know what? Screw talking to animals. You should be learning this, because then you'll live forever.
Well, yes. However, if we look at how it showed up in the stories, they didn't learn about the ability to become ghosts until much longer after all of the damage had been done. One of the things
Yoda. Yeah. Okay.
One of the things I've been confused about ever since I was a kid. So when Yoda died, spoiler for those of you who don't know this, Yoda died, and Obi-Wan Kenobi died and became a Force ghost. It almost seemed like it was by choice. They chose to go. How in the wild world of sports did Anakin Skywalker become a ghost in the original trilogy?
Right.
So what training did he do to become that ghost?
Yeah, see, because when I was a kid, I thought it was sacrifice. Like, I thought when I was a kid, I thought Obi-Wan sacrificed, he became a ghost. Yoda, who used all the Force up to like lift the thing up and help Luke, he died sacrificing himself, and then Vader sacrificed himself to save Luke. I'm saying like little kid Mike. That's what I
Yeah.
thought.
Well, if little kid Mike was with us today, then Ben Swallow would be a ghost.
Yeah.
But we didn't get to see, shimmery, shiny Ben Swallow. We saw him disappear, become one with the Force, but he didn't become a ghost.
Yeah. But that's the plus. That's the wonderful thing about Star Wars. They don't explain everything, and we don't need to explain.
Yeah.
As long as it fits for that story.
Yeah. Well, it's like space travel by itself in Star Wars. Sometimes it takes a whole entire movie. This ship will never catch that ship. And then other times you're across the galaxy in moments to a casino planet and watching a big fish flipper guy getting a massage.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a wacky galaxy and it's super fun. I mean, what other galaxy that's family friendly can you talk about joining a jizz whaling band? I mean, come on.
Oh my goodness!
I mean, I've never heard of the inflatable Enterprise.
That's true, but
No,
that would be it. You know what? Now that I think about it, though, imagine the bridge of the Enterprise as an inflatable.
No. Nah, not on this show.
With a big screen TV. See, so and maybe because I've been watching Orville, I liked the original Star Trek. I've always thought if you had to make an arcade game where multiple people could play at the same time, like say like you build a room, the Star Trek type bridge would be the best.
Oh goodness!
You could have 5 or 6 players go in and you run it, and you build 6 or 7 of these rooms and you fight against each other in your ships. To me, that would be like the ultimate giant video game.
Yeah, and it wouldn't even necessarily be that large. I mean, the idea is perfect. That would be fantastic.
Because that's the one I would say when I was a kid. That's what I liked about Star Trek. I liked how everyone worked together. It wasn't the swashbuckling show, and most of the politics went over my head when I was a little kid. But I always liked that where it was so advanced, but it still depend on everyone at their station.
And everyone knew their station, and everyone was responsible for their station. And when somebody else had to step in and take over or do or help out, whereas it was one for one, and that kind of thing in some of the other movies. So,
but like I said, I've been watching Orville, and Orville's the same way. It's the same. I don't know. I
haven't seen any of that yet. Maybe I'll watch it at some point.
It's worth a watch. Again, I think Favreau is the executive producer.
Okay.
And again, it's an homage.
I didn't know that.
It's an homage to Star Trek, definitely, but it's an homage. It seems like to most science fiction because it has a lot of, and it has a good political leaning in the sense that every show is pinpointing a different thing, and it doesn't go the way you think it will be, which is kind of neat, And it has humor, and it probably like a dash of Galaxy Quest.
Oh, nice.
So, but yeah, because I had never watched it, but again, I was telling John, Missy and I are in that. Our summer TV watching quality is based on how many seasons are out. Because we just need something filler, like like right before lunch, or you know what I mean. So quality is based on.
Well, in that case, why don't you just catch up on episodes of the Clone Wars?
I've watched all those though, a couple times.
Yeah, but now you get to watch them from a different perspective.
That's true.
Now you get to watch it. How did this action help Obi-Wan go down this path, or
See, my wife doesn't like animation.
Okay,
that's she'll watch Star Wars, but animation is tough for her. She just doesn't.
Gotcha.
Because even like when like they'll have a new Pixar movie or something like that, it's an arm twist to get her to watch animation. And honestly, I'm that way with certain animations. So like Visions was nice because I watched animations I normally wouldn't watch, but there's some animations that I just can't get into.
Yeah, some of them they take a while. I mean, if you look back at the animated Clone Wars, folks talked about how they didn't like the animated marionettation or whatever it was called.
Yeah, yeah.
Even though that's what George was going for, that was the angled look of the characters and so on. Or even Resistance. Resistance was Rebels. Rebels was a Ralph McQuarrie themed kind of animation, and then Resistance was more of the anime style of stuff.
Yeah, Resistance took me a while to get used to it, but then I really liked Resistance colors.
Yeah,
It was just a brighter palette.
Yep. I wish they would have flushed it out a little bit more because I couldn't figure out where it was headed. Like, what was the destination that they were hoping to get to? Because at least with the Clone Wars, you knew it fit in this area. It was going from here to there. But with the Resistance, it was special, and I think they just ended it to end it because they were going on to these other projects. But
yeah, I think and it was taking place in a part of the universe where I don't think the demographic, the kids that were really, it came too early, like it would have been if they put the Clone Wars out in 1979.
Yeah, good point.
Like it just there wasn't enough history, there wasn't enough, like I don't know, because it was the girl Zoe liked it because she was really connected with Poe and those characters and stuff like that. But it was hard for me to get like really into it.
Yeah, and they only showed up every once in a while, so they were kind of like the guest star, that the headliner who showed up on the Love Boat once in a while.
Yeah, well, and also it was a weird show because it was on that Disney app before Disney Plus. Remember?
Oh yeah, that's right,
and
Disney XD.
Yeah, and it was hard to get and hard to find sometimes. The same with when Rebels came out. When Rebels first came out, it was on like Disney XD, but you had to get it through your cable provider, and then we would buy it on Apple iTunes, but it wouldn't come till like the day after. And yeah, I'm surprised that show lasted as long, just the way it started out.
Gotcha.
Because remember, the Clone Wars suffered from the same thing near the end. It was all Cartoon Network, and then it was jumped around Saturday morning.
Yep.
And with DVR, it was much nicer when they did it on Friday night because then the kids could just watch it as soon as they came when they got up. So, but live and learn, right?
Well, I definitely want to make sure we thank all the folks that were hanging out with us tonight.
Yeah.
And Loud Hits and.
Yeah, we got some kind of thing. I got a thing from this that we had. You received over 100 messages today.
Oh, that's fantastic.
In our chat. So I don't think we ever hit 100 before.
Yeah, we've got folks that are moving and grooving, hanging out with us. I love this back and forth with everybody. I truly appreciate it.
Yeah.
Not that Mike and John and I can't, gab on for hours and hours by ourselves, but it's nice to know that other folks out there are enjoying the conversation or are feeling like they can jump in and be part of the action. So even though you're not sitting in our living rooms with us or our podcast rooms or whatever, you're still as much a part of the show as the three of us. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I was trying to get Sal on, but he was working late because he's on California time. So, So I tried.
Well, it was probably for the best because I wouldn't have wanted him to be on if I got his name wrong.
Yeah, Sal wouldn't care. I'm just telling you. Sal's probably one of the most friendliest people I've ever met.
Nicer than John? John's right here.
I don't know. I don't know. He's West Coast John.
Okay.
That's acceptable.
There you go. I can understand that.
Yeah.
So
every time I see Sal, I always think, I should get in shape and try Saber Guild, and then it passes as soon as I'm not with him.
Well, you're a teacher, right?
Yeah.
So you know geometry. Rounds of shape, it counts.
Yeah.
It may not be the shape you prefer, but it's still a shape. I mean, I'm right there with you. I'm the fluffy Mando.
Yeah. Well, I just the nice thing about Vader is the black is slimming. So capes. Missy
there is something to be said for Star Wars fashion, and I mean let's talk about it even further. You wear you wear lifts, you wear heels, accentuate your calves.
Oh
So-
man, that last time, the lifts are fine. I can walk in the lifts, but man, the one slipped off my foot. It was 2 hours of the softest part of your foot, all your weight being on it, right in front of your heel. That was
Yeah.
not. That's why I got bigger lifts so it won't happen. Like so my foot can't slip. They're going to be glued into the bottom of the boots when they're finally done.
I am definitely going to need the help of both of you this weekend to come up with a satisfactory Tuscan name.
Okay, well I have that Tuscan dictionary, so you can.
Okay.
You know.
As long as it's something that rhymes with like something along those lines. I don't know.
We can
I
just.
apologize for the Tuscans whose names I've gotten wrong. But.
Yeah. Well, some of the guys I know with Tuscans, they'll do the gloves. They'll do the gloves with the different sounds. You ever see that?
I have. I have. Don't understand the electronics behind doing that.
Well, you don't have to, because when the girls were Jawas, I just got one of these guys right here,
Oh, the little iPod Shuffle.
and you put it on a rubber band around your hand, and then you just make a loop, and then you hit it like Spider-Man, and then and so
Okay.
you just go in and you put like with their Jawas, I put like 6 or 7 sayings, and I put like 3 seconds in between them. And then I just took both of them and I tuned it a little different, so Zoe's sounded a little deeper pitched than Safi's.
Okay.
And then so you can do the same thing with a Tuscan. You just get some clean sounds and just do that. Because I've seen guys with the gloves. The problem with the gloves is you don't want to limit your hand. Like they'll have buttons everywhere. You know, because really you only need the sound for when you're doing your gaffy. And I've seen guys put buttons in their gaffy sticks. They've hollowed out their sticks and make the stick make the sound too.
See, that's smart. I like that idea.
Well, if you do,
I'm not sure if I have that skill set.
If you do have if you have a New Hope one, you can put the sound in your chest piece. But you can buy it's called a mini bomb. It's about the size of a golf ball, and it's a speaker. It's an amp.
Oh, like a Bluetooth speaker?
Yeah, no, it's just a plug-in speaker, and you run the cord on that iPod Shuffle up your arm and have it hanging around your waist. And then boom, it's easy electronics.
My waist is not up my arm.
No, you run it up your arm, have it come down. I would put the mini bomb on a lanyard, and then the girls would just wear it under the robe.
Okay, now I'm getting the anatomy. Now that makes sense.
Because I've just done costumes for so much. When you start wiring into your costumes, you're just asking yourself for a headache.
Yeah, knowing myself, I would do something where I ended up with even if it was a slight electrocution, that's what would happen.
Yeah.
I become the fry guy. That's not what I want.
You make them as simple as possible, man. Because I know a lot of guys that put all these electronics in their TK buckets, and that moisture and batteries scare the crap out of me. I don't want to go home.
So close to your face, especially.
Yeah, I don't want to go to work with all that. What happened to your ear? I got burned off because I had a 9-volt for 2 hours in a highly.
Or you get your hair caught in the fan, whatever.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Oh yeah. Well, that would be painful.
Are we also working on cycler rifles or no?
I have the boards to cut them. That comes down to if I get all the important stuff done.
Okay.
But I have the boards I have the printout of the flat ended. I know you have the round ended one.
Yep.
And I have saw blades. So if you want one, I have 2 2x12s cut 6 foot long. I have 2 6-foot 2x12s. We can get 4 rifles out of if we have time. So.
Yeah, but my wife doesn't like trusting me with a paring knife in the kitchen. I'm not sure if she'd appreciate me using your saw tools.
I just bought a super sharp, super smooth cutting jigsaw blade, because I figure if we cut the rifle out of that, and then we take the belt sander and round the edges.
Okay.
That's probably
the belt sander I can probably manage.
That's the easiest way without anyone losing any fingers.
Yeah.
I mean,
most times when it comes to that sort of stuff, I don't know what happens. I measure 3 times, I cut twice, and it's still too short.
Yeah, well, like I said, the rifles. I think I scaled the paper up. I'll tape it up tomorrow. It just,
okay.
Like I said, I'm just trying to make sure I have enough mask sales printed for everybody.
Gotcha.
And
the accessories are the least of our concerns right now.
Yeah.
gonna
Well,
be fun.
it is 12:17, which is we're 4 hours and 17 minutes in. I don't know
And
about
none
you.
of us have fallen asleep yet.
No, but I'm going to be close to it, so I have to.
I'll call it a night then as well. It was wonderful hanging out with you fine fellows and all of the chatters that we have here.
Yeah,
Do we need a name for our inflatable? Are these like the stowaways? Because
Fladies.
we're on the inflatable Falcon. So all the folks in they're the stowaways.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like Fladies.
The flighties. Well, that might be the three hosts. Come on,
Yeah,
let's
yeah.
if we're gonna name names. And I don't want to point at any one of us saying who's flightier than the other, but it's a close 3-way tie.
I don't know.
So-
We could be the Sandbags.
The smuggles.
There we go. The smuggles. There we go. The sandbags would be too expensive. We'd have to get something cheaper than that.
Oh yeah.
I think next we have to go through the pricing one more time of the inflatable Falcon next time. We have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe our fan film should be a commercial for the inflatable Falcon.
Or what? I mean, I know we've toyed around with the idea, a version of Fanboys where instead of breaking into Skywalker Ranch, we're breaking into, was it Jump USA?
Jump USA.
Like we're going on a road trip to Jump USA, and we're our only goal of this mission is to get on the inflatable Falcon.
We could be in our TK standing out front, but instead of a boombox, we have leaf blowers.
Oh jeez.
And then one person has sandbags,
Or how about this? What we could do is we could have our smuggles get involved in a chain letter writing campaign.
Yeah, there you
So
go.
each of them can write one letter on our behalf to send to Jump USA, telling them that if they haven't already heard of the Inflatable Falcon podcast, they need to listen. They need to get us. They need to come on our show. So they could be writing on our behalf.
Yeah.
So instead of just you pestering them, it's the smuggles pestering them.
True.
I think in addition to the letter campaign to spearhead that campaign, the three of us need to make like a petition video of why we appreciate and need to see an inflatable Falcon with our own eyes in person.
Yeah.
See, that sounds like a project we could do on Saturday.
That does.
Because that wouldn't take long.
While you're in Kylo.
Yeah. That
Kennex could make an appearance, and
Kennex could make
Sandy.
at least I could at least bring Kennex's helmet. I don't know if I want to bring the whole, but I could
bring the right helmet though.
Yeah, the right helmet. Yeah, the last time I went to an event in Philadelphia, I brought my armor and the wrong helmet bag.
Oof.
Yeah, so I didn't get to meet Ashley Eckstein in costume. I got to meet her looking like this, and that wasn't fun for her or me.
It was fun for me.
That's true. I got to hang out in line with you even longer.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to head out, guys.
Thanks, gentlemen. Thanks, Smuggles.
Yeah,
We will
thanks.
catch up with you during our next flight, which will be
Yeah,
next
man.
Wednesday. And you'll get to hear all about the hijinks and shenanigans that we got up to this weekend when we were all in
I
Tuscany.
hope it lives up to the hype.
Oh, it will.
All right. I am ending the stream.
Thanks, guys.